New Year, everybody. You know how January is, you know. You have a lot of things you got to get done. Thank you so much for your patience and understanding, because there's a lot in January, beginning of the month. Now, would you all please, I'd like to call the meeting to order for the HRC for January 24th, 2019. Would you please stand for the pledge being led by Vice Chair?
Please put your hands over your heart so that you have to leave. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Commissioner Hitterdale? Here. Commissioner Rush? Commissioner Marashi?
Here.
Vice Chair Schaefer?
Here.
Chair Christie?
Here.
Commissioner Hardy?
Here.
Commissioner Contreras-Leo? Commissioner Ramos?
Present.
Commissioner Nguyen?
Here.
Chair, you have quorum.
Thank you so much, everybody. Let's welcome our new commissioner. It's been years since we had a commissioner to represent Ward 6. So may we please stand up and give him a wave. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. We're a little family here, so we work hard and everything. Okay. At this time, if there's any member of the public that have public comments on non-agendized items, please fill out a green request form, and you have 3 minutes to speak, unless I say continue on and so forth. So do we have any members of the public that wish to speak on any non-agendized item? If not, thank you. Moving right along, at this time we're going to move in to number 8 on our meeting. Is the minutes for the special meeting held on December 17th for the approval. Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
Moved by Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rushke. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Could you hear? On the second?
Oh, no.
I don't think so. Okay. Aye. Okay. All those. She can still vote if she wants. Okay. All right. All those opposed? Any abstentions? No. Okay. Passed. 7-0. Now, is excused absences of Commissioner Contreras-Leo and Commissioner Rush. Is there a motion?
Do we know why they're not here?
I don't know. I did hear from Commissioner Rush earlier. I left my office at about 4 o'clock, so I'm not sure if Commissioner Contreras-Leo emailed between then and now.
Okay. Can we move? I'm going to move this item for excused absences till the end, to the end of our calendar. Okay. All right. Now, moving on, our agreements on this. This is normally a consent calendar item, but since we have new commissioners with us, and I just want them to understand what exactly we're doing in approving these agreements. So I have our attorney, Lisa Strong, who wish to let's take on the first C is Historic Property Preservation Agreement of 2018-04 Mills Act for the property located at 202 to 208 West 4th Street. Scott Ostlund, I hope I'm pronouncing that, and Jeff Smith applicants. Items D is Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2018-03 Mills Act for the property located at 810 North French Street, Victoria A. Bentecourt, applicant. And property number E, Historic Property Preservation Agreement number 2018-02 Mills Act for the property located at 1721 North Bush Street, Chad DeCosta, and Elizabeth Siskari. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. If not, please forgive me. Lisa.
Oh, yes, Chair. Just so everybody's aware, the historic property preservation agreements are also known as the Mills Act agreements, and they're contracts that are entered between the city and the owners of qualified historical properties that they will do certain maintenance and preservation of their historic property. Any major modifications to historic properties would have to come before this commission for approval. And if you have any questions, I can happy to answer.
Okay, very good. For the new commissioners, do you have any that would be the answer? No? Okay, did that help?
Yes.
Okay. And with that, moving on, is there a motion for the consent calendar? Items C, D, and E. Okay.
Madam Chairman, I move that we approve items C, D, and E from the consent calendar.
Okay, is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Okay. Moved by Commissioner Tibbetts-Dale, second by Commissioner Ramos. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No? Okay. We have a vote of 7 with 2 absences on that. Congratulations on those agreements. Let's give them your hand. Okay, moving right along. Commissioner communications. Anybody have anything? Okay, none? Okay. Business calendar. Next order is consider the business item. The item number 1.
Chair, if we may, we have a miscellaneous administration, items F and G.
Did I miss it? Okay, did I miss that? Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for bringing that to my attention. Okay. And who's doing the presentation?
It apparently is a receive and file.
Okay. To receive and file. I have here that staff is going to do a presentation. Am I up here?
Presentation on
F and G.
Reports? Oh, I'm sorry, wrong page, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, miscellaneous and administrative, City of Santa Ana Certified Local Governments 2017 to 18 Annual Report. It's recommended to receive and file. Is there a motion on item number F?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Schaefer, second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Hardy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None? Okay, motion carries 7 with 2 absences. Next is miscellaneous administrative item number G, solar panel installation on historic properties to receive and file. Are there any comments on this one before we take the vote? Commissioner Schaefer.
I just have a couple questions having to do with this proposal. In the past, I think our stance has been you could not have solar panels on a historic home. Is that correct?
That has been correct. We cannot, the state law has changed, and we need to recognize them, but we are providing applicants with a handout so that they can be informed of the best way in which to locate
So
and
based on
attach. there.
attachment that we got, basically it cannot be visible from the street, is that correct? It needs to be on the back of the house or somewhere it's not so obvious?
Yes, that is what we are encouraging applicants to do.
So
Yes.
Are they being encouraged or is it mandated?
It is not, yeah, it is not, the state law says we have to approve these things over the counter and that we have to, and that we do have to allow them on all residential structures. It's it was a new law that came through last year. We don't have any choice in it, but what we can do for historic structure is to encourage people to locate them in those locations, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, I understand the state law that we have to allow it, but we don't have to allow it on the street scene of the property, do we? As long as we make it available to them?
We have to.
I'm looking for stronger language in there instead of just encourage, that we would maybe prohibit it from the street view.
We are not allowed to prohibit it. We are not allowed to. If that would be the only panel in which they could get sun, would be the street side, we would not be allowed to prohibit it.
The state law requires that we allow solar installations, and you can't have any unreasonable restrictions.
So unreasonable, according to the state, is that we would have to come up on a historic property. State is saying it'd be unreasonable for us to say it must be on the back of the property and not seen from the street side to come in. Is that how I'm interpreting?
The prohibition is that restrictions that would significantly decrease the efficiency or performance of a system or significantly increase its cost are not allowed. So as Candida said, the only place that they would be able to get the sun to power their solar energy system is in the front, then we would have to allow it, but we would certainly try to make it somehow blend with the historic property.
Commissioner Hitherdale?
Yeah, well, I think we have kind of there's a conflict of different considerations. I understand that we also can't forbid them to put it on any roof. And my understanding is that technologically, they need to have it south facing in this latitude, right? They want to have it where they can get the most sun. So the southern exposure were on the street, and that would be the place where they have to put it by the requirements of the technology. And we'd like to have it look as it did in the 1880s or 1890s when we had solar panels, but we'd also like to encourage solar technology, and so it's kind of a conflict that we want to do.
Commissioner Mareshki?
Well, if we can't keep them from having solar panels, can we remove them off of the Historic Register and the Mills Act? Can we withdraw them? That wouldn't be allowed. Would it be a consideration if they came in front of us wanting to put the house on the Historic Registry? We could say no, because it doesn't meet the historic character.
The problem is, as Mr. Hitherdale said, the state regulations are to enhance solar energy.
Oh, sure. No, I understand that. And
Then you'd be discriminating against that property owner if you didn't allow them to get on the list just because of the solar.
well, it just still seems like you have a historic register because you're trying to preserve and show off your historic structure. And if you have this god-awful looking solar panel on the front panel that everybody's viewpoint goes right to the solar panel, then that kind of would seem to make sense that you wouldn't want it to be a historic registered property. But you're still saying we can't even do that. Okay.
Commissioner Hitherdale?
Yeah, I guess, and again, unfortunately, perhaps, the issue is kind of moot because the city is a part of the state of California, which is a sovereign here, and the state has ruled that it has to be a certain way that we have to follow it.
But I think the point of the handout was that we would do all in our power to make sure that they were installed appropriately. And so that's what we are doing.
So I would just like to add to that. I would love to see the staff strongly admonished to discourage any solar panels that are visible from the street on a historic structure. I mean, to do everything possible. I don't know everybody that works at the counter, but if this is a counter type approval that no one above that person looks at, there's a trainee there, they don't know about a historic home, they just see solar panels, they say, sure, go for it. I'm worried about that, a potential lack of oversight on that.
Pedro Gomez is going to explain to you a bit about the counter procedure, but our city does require planning review of the structures, which you may not have in other cities. That's something that we were able to do, and Pedro is going to talk to you about that.
Sure, Madam Chair, if I may. Commissioner Schaefer, we've been very fortunate to have homeowners who are incredibly proud to have a historic home, and so they're more than willing to work with staff. Unfortunately, as it's been discussed, we are limited in our review. The building agency has a permit streamlining process for solar panels. However, our systems identify homes that are on a historic register, and when the building department processes a plan that's in a historic register, they let our planning staff know, primarily myself, but there's a lot of our staff members who are familiar with the process, and we've provided these handouts to them to kind of encourage the homeowners to identify the best possible way while still maintaining the integrity of the home. We work closely with the actual solar panel vendors themselves as well, as they're probably the most inept to kind of identify what the best solar orientation would be and what the best way would be to maintain that integrity. We do have a couple options for homeowners as identified on the handout. Not every home falls within these categories where they can maybe install the solar panels towards the rear or on a detached structure. But so far, we've been very fortunate to work with homeowners who have been very amenable and, in my opinion, and approve solar panels that are not detrimental to those historic homes.
Thank you so much.
In addition to that, if I may, so the policy is to help us and guide our staff to make sure that we push the homeowner and the design of the actual step to ensure that we maintain the integrity of the structure. However, as technology moves along, these policy also allows us to discuss different design because they're already out there looking at shingles as part of that. So as those type of design become more affordable, we're able to now meet the state's mandate of making sure that it's not cost prohibitive. There are other types of solar that incorporate rights into the facade of the building as well. So as those technology come along, we will be able to start discussing as their prices drop. So.
Okay. Good discussion, guys. Did you learn a lot? Absolutely. Unfortunately, California is going to go solar. And unfortunately, right now we have no cap for it. Okay, so therefore, I'm looking to have a motion for item number 3 on here, G for the solar panel is to receive and file. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Ramos. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Murashki. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, it passes. Motion passes 7 with 2 absences. Okay. Okay. Now, we will consider item number 1, ad hoc committee recommendation for the 2018 City of Santa Ana Historic Preservation award winners. Staff will now do a presentation.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. If the Commission may recall, in May of last year, the City reinstated the Historic Preservations Awards Program to highlight the continuing efforts being made to further historic preservation in the community. In addition, the Commission selected Commissioner Hardy and Commissioner Rush to participate in an ad hoc committee to review nominations for 2018. Staff selected an architect and Professor Rose Ann Kings as the third member of the ad hoc committee. The 5 categories for the nomination included restoration, rehab, award of merit, historic beautification, and historic infill design. The nomination period was open from May to July, and at the conclusion of the nomination period, staff had received four nominations. In August of last year, the ad hoc committee met to discuss these 4 nominations, and after deliberating, the ad hoc committee recommended the following 2018 award winners: the Santa Ana Unified School District, GKK Group, and PJHM Architects for their work with the Franklin Elementary School Overcrowding Relief Project. The committee recommended the Historic Beautification Award. And forgive me for the pronunciation on this, but Bassinian Laguni Architects for the work with Birch Courtyards at 215 and 435 South Birch Street. The committee recommended the Historic Infill Design Award. Mr. Rafael Ramos Jr. for his work with the Wilson Wagner House at 530 South Birch Street. The committee recommended an award of merit. And last but not least, Mr. Dino Perez and Downtown Santa Ana, Inc. for their work with the United Auto Building and the Henninger Housing coloring pages. The committee recommended the award of merit. The ad hoc committee recommended that the Historic Resources Commission approve the above mentioned nominations and recommended presentation of the awards at this commission meeting. We do have a couple representatives from each one of these categories. To receive these awards, we have Mr. Andy Putney, representing Santa Ana Unified School District, Mr. Rafael Ramos, homeowner of the Wilson Wagner House at 530 South Birch, Mr. Dino Perez, artist of the coloring pages, and Mr. Stephen Dewan, representing Bassani and Laguni Architects.
Thank you so much. Okay. Does the commission have any comments or questions of staff? Do you want to talk now? Or? Okay. Have we have any written communication, Madam Secretary?
We have not.
Okay. I want to bring this item back to the commission for this, and I'm going to ask Commissioner Hardy, would you mind just commenting on these beautiful presentations of winners?
Well, I miss my co-patriot, Mr. Rush, but I'm just excited that the awards have been reinstated. It's something I know that was worked on really hard even before the commission with the historic resources. Well, the commission that, or the group that preceded this commission, that was one of their goals to create these historic preservation awards. So I'm just hope that, you know, we need to keep our eyes open for 2019 nominations. So.
Does any other commissioner have any comments? I know that Commissioner Rush and Commissioner Hardy and Roseanne King, they did a lot of research and groundwork on this, and they really pushed hard that we bring this back because it was missing. How do we not, award something for being kept and to signify, as a historic preservation property? And this award is very prestigious on that. So I'd like to congratulate and thank you, Commissioner Hardy and Commissioner Rush, and to Roseanne King for all your hard work on bringing these award recipients to our commission. Let's give them a hand.
You're very welcome.
Okay, no, do I have, okay,
Go ahead.
no, okay.
You can finish. I was recommending that at this time it might be appropriate to give him a call, but you can finish with your action.
Let's approve them first.
Sure.
Okay, and bring it back to the commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Can I do that?
Yes.
Okay.
On item number 1, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Nguyen, seconded. Commissioner Harvey making the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passed 7-2 with 2 absences. Congratulations, each one. And can we all of us come down and hand them?
Sure, of course. To commemorate the award winners, what we've done is we've presented, we're going to present the award winners with a frame and a little inscription on a bronze plaque, and we're also presenting them with a certification. I'd love to call up the award winners if I may, Madam Chair, and then if you guys wanted to come down and take some photos, we'd be happy to. So let me go ahead and start off with Mr. Andy Putney. If Mr. Andy Putney could come up. Again, he was a representative of Santa Ana Unified School District.
Okay.
Mr. Rafael Ramos.
Well, can we do it one at a time?
Sure, of course.
Come out there. Come on, guys. I know staff, you have pictures, take pictures with your phones or something like that? So that we can have it.
Next, we have Mr. Rafael Ramos. I believe this is his wife. Ms. Ramos. We have Mr. Dino Perez next.
You know, this is our 150-year celebration on this, so this is a historic part, and we'll go into the archives, right?
Great, thank you. And then Mr. Stephen Dewan.
Now we will move on to the public hearing. At this time and place for the public hearing on item number 2 for the historic exterior modification on application 2018-22 to allow exterior modification to the property located on 2441 North Riverside Drive. Staff will now do a presentation.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. As mentioned, this first item is a request to permit exterior modifications to the historic structure at 2441 North Riverside. The property is located on the north side of Riverside Drive in Fuller Park. It's known as the Henderson House, and it's individually listed as number 601 in the Santa Ana Register of Historical Properties and categorized as contributed. The Henderson House has distinctive architectural features of the Monterey variant style and was built in 1933. Character-defining features of the Henderson House include the exterior materials, which consist of stucco and board and batten siding, cantilevered balcony over the front entry, original 6/6 windows with lamb's tongue features, rafter tails, shutters, and the massing and articulation. The proposed exterior modifications include the replacement of an existing den window with a new accordion-style door on the first floor, and a 223-square-foot expansion of the second-story master bedroom. In addition, the proposed work includes the addition of a second-story balcony deck with a new roof overhang towards the rear. These next slides provide an overview of the proposed work. You can see on the proposed floor plan to the right that the work is isolated towards the rear of the property. On this next slide, you can see the new balcony, the new overhang, and new French doors being proposed. These next slides provide a few looks of the addition along the east elevation and along the north elevation. This specifically the north. In this next slide as the east. The proposed modifications are considered a rehab project, and as such were evaluated against the 10 criteria of the Secretary of Interior Standards for treatment of historic properties. Staff determined that the project complies with the Secretary of Interior Standards. The analysis found that the proposed addition was compatible and consistent with the existing architectural elements that reflect the original style. By localizing the scope of work towards the rear of the elevation and differentiating the new work from the old, the property will maintain its historic and character-defining features. Lastly, due to the additive nature, the addition will allow for the option for it to be removed in such a way that the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. That concludes staff's report. I'd be happy to answer questions at this time.
Does the commission have any comments or questions to the staff? None? Agree moving forward with the Mr. And Mrs. The applicants that are here. Are they here? Would you like to speak? No?
Madam Chair and members, my name is Nathan Menard. I'm the architect representing the homeowner, and would be happy to take any questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, thank you. Did you want to say anything?
Not necessarily, ma'am. I'm the homeowner, and
Okay.
good afternoon, commission members and vice chair and chairperson. I just wanted to mention that these proposed changes are isolated solely to the rear of the property, so you should not be able to see any changes at all to the front facade or the west facade, which are most apparent on the original pictures that you saw today. So no change from the street.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Madam Secretary, do we have any other comments from the audience? None? Madam Secretary, have we received any written communication?
We have not.
No, okay. At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Okay, any other comments? None? Okay, then we'll have that the public hearing is now closed, and I will bring it back to the commission for a motion. Okay,
All right.
Commissioner.
Comment, and I guess if no one else does, I'll make a motion. This is a truly lovely home in a sweet spot of the Floral Park neighborhood. I think the design is very sensitive. It's appropriate to the architecture of the home. It will be invisible from the street, so I'm in full support of this. I don't know if anyone else has any comments before I make a motion.
Any other comments? Okay.
I would move approval of the historic exterior modification application 2018-22 to allow exterior modifications to the property located at 2441 North Riverside Drive.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. Moved by Commissioner Schaefer, second by Commissioner Hardy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. 7 with 2 absences. Congratulations, and thank you so much for keeping the integrity of that beautiful home of yours. You're quite welcome. Okay. Okay, moving right along. Okay, now it's time for the public hearing on item number 3 for historic exterior modification on application number 2018-23 to allow exterior modification on property located at 2424 North Valencia. Staff will now do a presentation.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. This next item is also a request for a permit for exterior modifications to the historic structure at 2424 North Valencia Drive. The subject property is located on the west side of Valencia Street in the Park Santiago neighborhood. The property is known as the Charles Waffle House and is individually listed as number 452 on the Santa Ana Register of Historic Properties and is categorized as contributive. The Charles Waffle House has distinctive architectural features of the Tudor Revival style, and it was constructed in 1927. Character-defining features of the Charles Waffle House include materials and finishes, mostly the stucco and the wood, roof configuration and detailing, the original windows and doors, the chimney, and architectural details which include the half timbering and attic vents. The proposed exterior modifications will include a 199 square foot expansion to the existing master bedroom and guest bedroom. In addition, the project proposes an interior remodel of the kitchen and dining area. However, the interior improvements are not within the purview of the Historic Commission. All of the exterior work is proposed to be located towards the rear of the property. No changes to the north or east elevation are proposed. These next slides provide an overview of the proposed work. I apologize for the orientation. North really should, well, actually, the rear of the property is going to be located to the left side of the slide. The addition is proposed completely towards the rear, and it's this floor plan showing the expansion to that master bedroom and the guest bedroom. You can see on the elevations here that the proposed improvements are really isolated towards the rear, and they're not going to increase above the original roof line. So this proposed west elevation shows the original elevation, and then the rear elevation with the proposed work shows that the roof pitch is going to be maintained at the same style as the Tudor Revival along the front, but it's not going to exceed above that roof line. And this slide shows the south elevation, showing minor changes to the south elevation. Clearly, the addition towards the rear is shown on the bottom image. Again, this proposed exterior modifications are considered a rehab project and were reviewed against the 10 criteria of the Secretary of Interior standards as well. Staff determined that the project complied with these standards. The analysis shown that the proposed addition would be compatible and consistent with the existing architectural elements and the Tudor Revival architectural style. In addition, the property will maintain its historic and character-defining features. Lastly, the addition will allow for the option to have the addition removed in such a way that the form and the historic property integrity will be unimpaired. That concludes staff's report. I'd be happy to answer questions at this time.
Does the commission have any questions for staff? Okay, moving on. Would the applicant like to speak?
Thank you. Hello, Madam Chair,
Hi,
Commission.
Mr. Rash.
My name is Michael Bishop. I am the homeowner of the property at 2424 Valencia. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much tonight. Got 2 growing girls running out of little space there, you know. Hope everything works out. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Any questions for me?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Madam Secretary, do we have any written communication? Oh.
No written communication.
No written communication. The public hearing is now open. And our first speaker, next to the applicant, Dale Haven. Hi, Dale. Happy New Year.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Mike's a great neighbor, lives right down the street from us. He respects the house. He respects the tradition of the neighborhood and everything else. And I think his project is really great, and hope you approve it. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public who wish to speak at this time? Seeing none, I'd like to close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Does anyone on the commission have any questions or a motion? Commissioner Rushing.
I would like to make an motion that we adopt a resolution approving a certificate of appropriateness for historic exterior modification application number 2018-23.
Is there a second?
Second, I second.
Second by Commissioner. Moved by Commissioner Rushing, second by Commissioner Ramos. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? No. Motion carries 7 with 2 absences. Congratulations and thank you. I know how it is to have 2 girls.
Oh, yeah.
But their own beds. That's for sure. Okay. Now at the time and the place for the public hearing on item 4 for the historic exterior modification of application number 2018-24 to allow exterior modification to the property located at 2415 North Bonnie Bray. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. This one is to be continued until April the 4th. Okay, so that's a continuance.
Chair, can you please call for a motion on that item to continue the item to April 4th?
Okay.
I move that we continue item number 4 until our next meeting.
I second.
Or to the date she said, April.
April 4th. Okay. Moved by Commissioner Schaefer, second by Commissioner Murashki. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries 7 with 2 absences. We will continue this until April 4th. This is the time and place for item number 5. Okay, which is the public hearing of historic for historic exterior modification application number 2018-20-25 to allow exterior modification to the property located at 2020 North Victoria Drive. Staff will now provide a presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This last application for the exterior modification is for the property located at 2020 North Victoria Drive. The subject property is located on the west side of Victoria Drive in the Floral Park neighborhood. The property is known as the Wells House, and it's individually listed as number 347 on the Santa Ana Register of Historic Properties, and it's categorized as a landmark. The Wells House has distinctive architectural features of the Spanish colonial revival style and was built in 1928. It's rectangular in shape with a medium-pitched side-gabled red-tiled roof with shallow eaves and is symmetrical except for one-story side wing with the shed roof located towards the south end of the building. The character-defining features of the Wells House include the roof configuration, the materials and treatment, the massing and composition, the recessed wood doors and windows, and the architectural detailing. And I apologize, the slide does show as contributive, but the Wells House is a landmark. The proposed exterior modifications will include the demolition of an existing exterior deck located on the second floor in order to accommodate the addition and expansion of the second floor master bedroom, which is approximately 186 square feet. The addition will include a cantilevered wood balcony with decorative wrought iron railings compatible with the Spanish colonial revival style. Lastly, the proposed work will include various landscaping improvements. With the exception of the proposed front yard improvements, all of the work is proposed to be located towards the rear of the property. This next slide provides an overview of the location of the proposed landscaping improvements that will include a new decorative walkway, a fountain with decorative tile accents, and an elevated patio area. On these next slides, you'll see modifications towards the rear of the property along the west and south elevation. And then these next slides show the proposed exterior modifications along the south elevation and the west elevation. As you can see, the west elevation shows the addition kind of expanding towards the rear of the property with that deck with the decorative wrought iron railings. And this next slide shows the east elevation. And lastly, this slide here shows the project renderings provided by the architect. The first image shows the renderings for the front yard improvements. The second image shows the renderings for the addition towards the rear. The proposed work is also considered rehab, and as mentioned in the previous projects, had to be evaluated against the 10 criteria for the Secretary of Interior standards. Staff determined that the project complies with these standards. The analysis found that the proposed addition would be compatible and consistent with the existing architectural elements and the Spanish colonial revival architectural style. In addition, the property will maintain its historic and character-defining features. Moreover, the proposed addition is designed in a way to provide the option to remove it in a way that will maintain its historic integrity. That concludes staff's report. I'd be happy to answer questions at this time.
Thank you, Pedro. Okay. Does the commission have any questions or comments to staff? Okay, it's time. Is the applicant here? Okay, would you like to speak? Welcome.
Hi, good evening, commissioners and Madam Chair. My name is Jana Itzen. I'm the architect with Itzen Architects, and this is the homeowner, Stacy Kleinsmith. We'd be happy to address any questions you might have.
Thank you. Stacy, would you like to say anything?
Just that my husband and I lived in Floral Park about 7 years ago and had an opportunity to do a remodel here, and then moved up to the Bay Area where we also owned a historic home that we were remodeled. And the biggest compliment that we always received was, I can't tell where you did the work, because we really do honor the historic integrity of the home. We've had custom millwork done to be able to match trim. We love living in old homes, and rather than feeling constrained by the historic significance of the home, we feel, at the risk of sounding a little corny, honored to be stewards of that. So we're looking forward to doing that again after moving back from San Jose about a year and a half ago, and being fortunate enough to end up back in Floral Park in this beautiful home. So thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Madam Secretary, do we have any written communication?
No written communication.
Okay. I now declare the public hearing open. Anyone from the audience that wishes to address this application at this time? Not, then I declare that the public hearing is closed, and I'm going to bring it back for the commission for comments or a motion, please.
Of course, I have some comments, and I'll do a motion if no one else has comments. I've had the privilege of working with Kevin and Stacy on their sale when they sadly left Floral Park, but also got to be part of the bringing them back, and so that was very exciting. This is a beautiful home that has been preserved in a very sensitive way by the prior owner, and then now in the good stewardship hands of Kevin and Stacy. And I think they wisely chose an architect who lives in the neighborhood, that's also sensitive to historic homes and that sort of thing. So I really am proud of what they're doing. I think they're taking this house to the next level without altering the facade, and I think it's going to be a great project. And if there are no other comments, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the exterior modification application number 2018-25 to allow exterior modification and adopt a certificate of appropriateness for the modification 2018-25.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second. Moved by, excuse me, moved by Commissioner Schaefer, second by Commissioner Glenn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries 7 with 2 absences. Congratulations. Thank you so much. It's nice to have, neighbors that are architect and who know the history and sensitivity of the whole community as a whole. Thank you so much. Okay, now we will move on to reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At the December meeting, towards the end of the meeting, there was some discussion from the commissioners on follow-up items that were brought up, and at my request, the commission kindly continue that conversation today so that we can have a full discussion of items that you may have that want us to follow up or to provide additional information regarding those items. Our staff have went ahead and did some updates and responses to some of the items. However, the main focus here today also is to for us to have those discussions. I can take those notes down and then follow up on the items that have been brought up or discussed in the past. So with that, our planning manager, Candida Neal, will provide a brief presentation on that, and then we can have a discussion on items that you may still want to have additional responses to.
Good evening, Commissioners. We have our
As the Executive Director indicated, our intent here tonight was to
talk to you, make sure that we have all the issues that you have looking forward. Me to use this one. And thank you, Sarah. And to make sure we have all the issues that we have moving forward, and then to address those issues that we can tonight. The first one, we do have a number of items that we believe you had about 12 items that you brought up. The first one that you'll see here is called response items. These are ones that we can respond to right now. One of the questions that was brought up was you wanted to have updates on the status of historic properties, and there were two properties that were named specifically, the First American Title property and then the 666 North Main property. 666 North Main property is by Meta Housing. It is an affordable housing communication for artists and or for artist lofts. It has a variety of units, and it is under construction at this time. It was an adaptive reuse project. It is our first adaptive reuse project, so it was designated historic and it's moving forward. First American Title, many of you know that building or complex on the northeast corner of Main and 4th Streets. That project has been sold or transferred to a developer, and they are proceeding with the project. Toll Brothers is the developer. They have an application in at this point. We are processing that application. However, we have to explain to you that that project is not within the Downtown Historic District. It is outside of it. And it was not a designated structure, so it is neither on the list or within the district. So your role, and you will not have a role in that particular application. We are currently at the point where we are reviewing scopes of work on the environmental, and we have asked the environmental consultant to address not the historic character of the house itself, but the relationship of the house to the neighborhood surrounding it. So it's historic context. So the project will be reviewed again, not from the standpoint of it being a historic building or a historic site, but one in terms of addressing the context of it. Another question that you brought up was potentially historic properties. Specifically, you asked, is there some way that we can identify potentially historic processes, properties, because you wanted to know whether or not they were coming up for eligibility. As you know, many of the homes in Park Santiago now that were built in the 50s and 60s are now eligible for designations, and we've been getting more applications for that area. But you also asked for, and as they come in, we do know that, one of the things that the historic district designation, our zoning ordinance component of it, does not kick in. One of the particular questions you asked for was you wanted to know about demolitions. And one of the things that you should be aware of is that our process itself, our historic Chapter 30, which is the ordinance that addresses historic, we do not have a separate provision for review of demolition permits. So that's not something that we do. So even if a project came in and if it is not designated or within a historic district, that would be and did not require CEQA, and did not trigger CEQA, we we would not have any authorization to review or consider those projects. In terms of CEQA provisions, CEQA will requires us to look at the historic context of buildings that are potentially historic. So we have the historic study that was done for the entire city, and there are a number of properties that are designated potential, but they have not been designated. Some of you that were here when we initially started that process know that at that time staff went out and initiated the most critical designation of the most critical landmark buildings, but the rest was left to property owners to go ahead with that. And so the only time that it would kick in for demolition permits would be if there was a CEQA action. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because there was, many of you have heard that there's a recent project that just went through under that that provision, so in which we did do CEQA review of it. Restoration guides. You asked about preparing restoration guides. You are all familiar with when we move forward on the HEMAs, the ones that use the exterior modification applications. You know that we stick to the Secretary of Interior standards, and you also know that we look to make sure we have a set of guidelines that are specific to historic structures in our citywide design guidelines. So that's the last bullet when Pedro is going through, or we are staff members going through the review of a project for an exterior modification. That's where we address those things. The third item that we do have a response for you tonight is the agenda items. You asked how and why, how things got agendized, and you should have a copy, and if you don't, please contact us, of the planning the commissioner and board members handbooks. Some of you may have joined the commission more recently. You got that. It is also online. If you don't have it, we do address agenda items, how to agenda items in that handbook. And what it sets forward, on the PowerPoint screen right now, I've taken the text from that section for you so that you can understand what laws we have to abide by in terms of agendas. And the first is the state law requires that we post the agenda and have it done in advance so that people understand and can contribute to the meeting if they're interested in a particular topic. It goes through the standard things. It states place and time, and it has descriptions of each of the items that will be heard. The issue is that the staff that is assigned to each meeting, the agenda is controlled by the executive director of the staff liaison or the executive director of the party. It is his responsibility to set that agenda. That's his responsibility to set that agenda. It can be modified by the chair. Or the third component is that if you, during your public content comments section of the meeting, want to direct that a specific item be agendized for a future agenda, as you did on these items, there were certainly a slew of them, then we can agendize those items and move forward on them. So that's the procedure for it. The chair also has provisions that the chair can move the sequence of the items, and has the authority to do that as well. And staff has the opportunity to request that an item be continued. So, on future, these are the future the list that we had. We're not prepared to discuss these today in depth, but we want to make sure that the list is complete, and we'd like any input or questions that you have on those items or any of the other ones that we discussed tonight.
Commissioner Hart?
I have two questions. One about the demolition permit review. Were you talking just about structures that are not within a historic district or in a special district? Because Hettinger Park, we are supposed to have a demolition review process, 30-day delay, I believe. And I imagine French Park does too?
Oh, no, I'm talking about structures that are not designated at all, that have not been designated. Yes, for designated structures, there's only there's a limited provision. We don't have a delay provision for that this time in our
But they're
ordinance.
not given out at the counter immediately.
Right, that is correct. And it doesn't go to you for action. You do not have the authority to review or deny a demolition. You don't have that authorization to move forward. We don't have a demolition project or process for historic commission review.
Okay. But does it go to the neighborhood or the district? Are they notified?
If it's in a district, that's different. Yes, within a district, you will be. There will be some kind of notification, but there's no
And are the
review of non-designated structures.
Okay.
So, many cities, what they do is any structure over 50 years old must be, if it's demolished, it must be. It must go through a demolition permit. But we do not have that. So that was in the question for that was in the context of potentially historic structures. That's why we were talking about it. And so it was potentially historic structures. So the idea was that the context that we read from the comment that was made at the last meeting, the way that we interpreted it was, we'd like you to survey we want to find out how to survey and highlight these things so that when people come in to demolish them, we can stop that from happening. And what the staff response is that if they weren't already designated, we do not have a process to look at demolition. Okay.
Thank you. And then the other question is the restoration guide. Hettinger Park and French Park have their own guidelines that I'm guessing supersede.
Yes, those do. Well, they complement one another because the city guidelines tend to be more. Yours are zoning standards because it's part of a zoning code, and ours tend to be more. They complement one another. So,
okay, thank you.
So I had a question regarding the demolition. My neighbor's house is on the historic registry, and they want to tear it down and put a modern house up. What is the process for that? Are they just allowed to do that because they're homeowners, or is there some notice?
If it's on the historic, if it's on the historic register, there's a different process.
And could you explain that process quickly? If it's on the registry,
if it's on the register, we have to do the noticing procedure, and we have to go through that.
So we would find out as a member of the public potentially if it was near us. What was going on.
You would find out.
Okay.
And there's advertising for noticing and also for salvaging too. So
I think that one of the things is that it's the notification. It's that sometimes it's, I'm sure it has like it's 30 days, but the
Right.
neighborhoods do not get it until maybe a week before. How do we correct that? Because of the fact that you just can't notify a whole community, going from 30 days, which they're required to get, to just a week or a few days.
Well, one of the things we may want to look at, or at some point, we're responding to the query that was made at the question that was made at the request that was made to go through and survey so that we could highlight things, and we're putting you on notice that that may not be an effective tool, that, as you're stating, the more effective way of doing something would be to look at modification of the ordinance, particularly the demolition section. So that's sort of the long and short of it. So at this point, we do know whether homes are eligible in our SAPIN system, but if they're not designated, that's the bottom line. So we got to be clear on that. It's common in other ordinances. You will find provisions that specifically address demolition and of all structures that are over 50 years old and eligible for designation. So that's just something you need to know, which was the query. Remember, the question was on that, so we're responding to that. And then these are future agenda items that we have here. There was a question about plaques and historic memorial placement, coming up with standards, and we can go into these in the future because and then the post-war structural survey, I'm not sure. And then those were the 4 items that we also, and if we missed any of them, we did go through the tape and tried to interpret the intent and create a list from this on which to respond to your questions.
So just to follow up on the demolition process and the questions, from what I'm hearing from the commission, there appears to be a lack of clarity in the process in terms of what are the thresholds for either noticing to the public or providing some level of review of a historic or whether or not a structure is historic, so that there isn't an accidental issuance of a permit for a structure that may either qualify or could be considered historic or is historic. So I've taken down the notes, and I think I hear that there needs to be more clarity provided either within our existing code, and if there isn't, it could be a recommendation at some point by the commission to provide that clarity for demolition. So I'm hearing that message. That's what I would like to be able to respond to, and I think based on the information today, what we have doesn't provide that clarity. Correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's not the intent.
Really, I mean, we're living in a world of words don't mean things anymore. Ambiguity and everything, and everybody have their own kind of interpretation of what words or actions or procedures actually mean. And I think if we're to take this commission seriously as commissioners, we need to be so precise and so clear that there is no room for what is. Okay?
Correct.
Okay.
I have a.
So what
I have a question.
what I'll do on this is that I'll work with our city attorney to review some of the demolition language addressing some of your concerns, and either provide it back as a report back or in a supplemental memo to you.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Ramos.
Yes, I have a question regarding the first future agenda item, the plaques and historic memorials placement. So I know you mentioned developing guidelines for those, but if I just want to ask the commission, from what I remember, I understood that a question of the commission was also whether or not this commission had the authority to require or recommend those that were applying for modifications or were doing renovations to a historic property, can this commission recommend that they include a plaque? I think was a question that we had. And I just want to make sure that that's
Okay.
also understood by staff. And then I also wanted to provide some additional information on, under the response items, historic properties, 1666 North Main Street. That project is going to be an affordable housing project. It's being constructed right now, and it's slated to be completed in August of 2019.
Right.
2019?
Yes, August of this year. So that was an update that we got yesterday at the Community Redevelopment and Housing Commission.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So this was meant to be a dialogue as well. If you have any additional areas that you want us to either provide clarification to or address, I am taking down the notes so that we can make sure we do that. So at this point, I welcome any comments or questions.
I think some of our comments in the past have been directed to specific properties that we see that are in neglect, like the fire station that Janelle keeps bringing to us and hasn't, wasn't secured, and homeless people were in there. And there's other projects. The old Symphony Hall has been broken into. There's homeless people sleeping around it. I think our general concern for the maintenance of properties that are in transition, let's say, they're they're not being actively used, and that we need to have some better enforcement from the city on protecting those structures from fire and theft and damage. So that maybe we need to have a process for that. Even if we see something between meetings, that we can, who do we call to report something?
Just to provide a quick response to that, definitely our staff is available. The enforcement arm of our staff is through the Code Enforcement Division. You can call either the planning office or the Code Enforcement office, bring those type of issues, and we will definitely start a case and start the investigation. So, yeah.
To add to that, is there a way we can standardize what the security of vacant properties looks like? What type of those panels are used, and so that all the vacant properties kind of look the same, and that looks like it gives the appearance that yes, they're secure, yes, people have eyes on them, and we want to keep them in the best condition possible. I don't know.
Yes. So our code enforcement staff, in addressing this issue, as you will see, and I don't know if it's consistently see, but we have a metal, what do you call it? A metal protection system that goes over the windows. And generally they're painted a color to match the building, so they're just not the HUD standard of the plywood. And those we use for enforcement of properties that are vacant in nuisance process or properties that have code enforcement issues. So that is something that we use as a standard when we enforce on vacant properties. They provide a greater level of protection in terms, because it is a metal barrier instead of just a wood barrier, and if the property owners does not conform, we, the city, has the ability also to come in, secure the property, and place a lien on the property.
Thank you.
I think one other item I'd like to see for a future is, and is sort of an ongoing future thing, is just keeping us informed as commissioners of historic buildings that have proposed projects or some proposed new use, like the old YMCA building. It's been sitting vacant for a long time. I know, it had a plan, but now that fell out. So it just be, as commissioners, I often get asked questions from people, hey, what's going on with this or that? So it'd be nice to be in the loop as much as possible about that.
Any other comments? Okay. Thank you so much, Candy. Okay, the second report.
Yes.
Nation.
So we also at the last meeting committed to coming back and discuss the fee issue that has been ongoing for several years. As part of that continuance, we went and met with our staff and got an update regarding their progress. The progress of the comprehensive update, I don't think will be in time to, that would provide us with any action that we can take, responding to this. So what we have done is that the staff have gone out, our planning staff has gone out and surveyed other cities on their fee structure. We survey four other cities, and so far we are the highest city. So Anaheim charged 0 fee for any of the historical preservation activities. The closest fee that we receive that is almost as high as ours is the City of Los Angeles, at about $7,500. So with that understanding, the staff right now internally is completing what we call a time motion effort study of our own efforts to see how much time are we spending on each one of these applications, separately from what the overall fee development the city is looking at, so that we at least can come up with an estimated what is the actual cost of the city. And I think with that information, you'll be able to make an informed decision and recommendation to the city council, understanding how much it actually costs the city to process one of these applications, and provide some option for the city council so that, I'll just give an example. If it costs the city $5,000 to process this, your recommendation could be that, the city look at just recovering the costs or provide some type of exemption, right, in certain cases for fee reduction. So in addition to that, we're also looking at how can we make our process look more efficient by using either technology or maybe outside consultants, so that we can potentially help reduce some of the costs. So we're looking towards that kind of fee information before we can come back to you with a recommendation on what's the next step or to the city council, because we believe with that only with that information would you be able to make a really comprehensive recommendation to the city council. Otherwise, we would not understand how much fee is actually costing the city. And it's a decision that's made, with knowing the full disclosure of the process and the fee. So I hope to be able to report back either in a supplemental memo to you between now and April. But if we're not able to get that information, we'll definitely have something by the meeting in April in terms of a solid recommendation based on the fee study that we're doing internally. So that concludes my update on this matter.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments? I know, thank you so much for doing, because of the fact that, I don't know about you guys, but I was getting so frustrated, with the council not listening to us, and how many presentations we did to show that the lower the fee, the more revenue you had coming in as people were applying. And we did that in our presentation last year. But anyway, but we thank you guys for helping us out on this, and who knows, they just increased, 10% sales tax, for bringing revenues in the city. So, that's, we thought we should have money. We really should have money.
And for us, we're really looking at how we can make our process internally more efficient so that it reduces the amount of time that we spend in terms of actual costs, and maybe that will make it less of a burden as well. So.
Right. Okay.
I just have one comment. I've got a number of people who are calling me and emailing me almost once a week, wanting to know the answer to this, and I keep putting them off every time. Oh, we're going to have a meeting in December. We're going to have a meeting in January. The staff has promised. I mean, I believe we've had 0 applications since the fee went to $10,000.
We actually had some application, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
How many applications have we had since it went to $10,000?
I believe it's 5 now. 5 now.
Really?
5 now.
Maybe they got tired of waiting.
So, but I think what can be said is
I probably know
that
of 20 that
yeah.
are waiting for the new fees.
I think what can be said is that based on our survey, we are the highest fee, and so
We did our own survey. We knew that already.
Are the fee surveys available to the commissioners? The fee survey that was conducted, is that available to us?
yes, we can provide it.
All right.
And like, one of the things that we're promoting, with the 150th anniversary of our city, and like you were saying, you now have properties that are 50, 60, 70 years old that are east, west, and south. And we do know the population of that area, that they can't afford 10,000, but, like we said, they should not be prohibited from not putting their homes on our register, because we do have key people who back in the 50s and 60s lived in those areas that moved the city forward and going on in the development. So it's not, having a new crop of historic figures that should be welcomed and recognized in our city. So looking forward to that coming back to us. Yeah? No? No. Okay, moving on. Anybody else? Comments? All right. Thank you so much, staff, for the 2 reports that you've given us. Now we'll move on to comments. Does any staff member have any more comments? Okay, if not, bring it to the commissioners. Larry, you're up. Commissioner Hibbert.
Welcome, Commissioner Witt, to the commission. I think it's a good group here. I think you'll be very helpful. Thanks to the community staff for all this work on these reports and plans that serve us in the city. Happy New Year, everyone.
Commissioner Murray.
I want to say the same comments. Welcome to Commissioner Nguyen. You're going to really enjoy this commission. It's a great commission. I also want to congratulate the award winners, and I also want to thank very much Commissioner Hardy and Commissioner Rush for the hard work you did on that award selection committee. So thank you.
Commissioner Schaefer.
I'd like to echo everything that was just said by Commissioner Marashi. I agree with all those, and the only thing that I have to say is I'm disappointed we're still talking about these fees a year and a half later. I can't really understand why it's taking that long. There's no explanation, I think, at this point for it. I appreciate the staff is making some forward progress, but these are the same kind of promises we've had for months and months and months. So maybe now that Min's paying attention to it, it'll get resolved for us. But I do think it's slowing us down, and especially in a year that's the 150th anniversary, it'd be nice that we were a little more friendly to our historic resources. As we heard from staff tonight, there's a lot of properties that could be on the registry but aren't. And we also see a lot of redevelopment and demolition and things happening, and that scares me sometimes that things fall through the cracks. So I'd like us to be a little more careful about that.
Commissioner Hardy.
Yes, I'd like to also welcome Commissioner Nguyen, and I'd like to congratulate all the historic award winners. And thank you, staff, for doing a lot of homework and reporting back. Also, I just want to say that we need to start now thinking about projects for 2019 historic awards. So we're not playing catch up at the end of the year. And I don't know if it's appropriate, but whatever ad hoc committee is selected, I would gladly offer I would be available if they needed help to fill out the forms and know if a property is appropriate to be nominated, because that seemed to be a little bit tricky. So, thank you.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Yes, I would also like to welcome our newest commissioner, Commissioner Nun. Welcome to the commission. Thank you, Commissioner Hardy and Commissioner Rich is not here for all of the work that you put into that process. Thank you to the staff, and also thank you to the members of the public that have stayed for the entire meeting with us. It's nice to see you all here.
Commissioner Wynn.
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody, all the commissioners, and of course the staff. It's been a great welcoming to this committee, or to this commission. I look forward to serving the city in this role.
I'd like to thank all of the homeowners who, are doing, with family expansion and everything else, keeping to your agreement and protecting the integrity of the home that's on the historic resource. And I thank everyone for coming out, and congratulations again to all the winners and staff. Thanks again.
Madam Chair, I think we need to go back to the excused absences. Yes.
Haven't finished yet. That was my next one. Thank you for reminding me. I am getting a year older, okay, on that. So, we do need to go back to the consent calendar for excused absences. So, is there a motion?
I move we excuse the absences of Commissioner Leo and Commissioner Rush.
And I second.
Second. Moved by Commissioner Schaefer, second by Commissioner Hardy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7 with the 2 absences. Also, I just have one question. Are we going to get our binders back? I know this is January, but could we get our binders back at the next meeting where they're put in, if it's all possible? I know January is then.
We are the citywide. We are trying to convert to paperless. So we're sending things out wireless, but we can put them back in the binders for the commission meetings. Yes. Okay.
Thank you so much.
What we'll do is we'll survey the commission to see that your preference.
That's
I'll
what
go.
I was going to
Yes.
suggest. If you want a binder, let them know, and everything else, because for the first time in a long time, I was in bed, so I didn't get a chance with the flu to go out and view the properties. But it helps when we're doing the surveys, or actually surveying the properties that are coming before us as we go in, and this. We understand. Okay? And with that, I now am adjourning the meeting at 6:15 to our next regularly scheduled meeting date of April 4th. Meeting adjourned. Thank you again for coming.
I'm okay with just Are the packets usually? Thanks for Was that previously established?
If anyone needs a parking pass, I have one available for you up front.